So, Miss Bethany, thank you for coming out and meeting us today and doing this podcast. Give us your title.
So my name is Bethany Corona. I'm one of two 4-H agents in Ouachita Parish. So I work for the LSU Ag Center and work right down the road in West Monroe.
Okay, so how long have you been working for the Ag Center doing as the 4-H agent?
I've been with the Ag Center about 2 years. I spent most of the last 2 years in Richland Parish, and I just moved over to Ouachita in July. So I've been here all of 5 months.
Okay, awesome. How's your 5 months been?
It's been great. It's been a whirlwind. It's been kicking my tail, but it's all been positive.
You know, started talking a little before we started this, and you indicated that you really feel like you're in your dream job, and it made me smile because there's not a lot of people that can sit back and say that they have the opportunity to do their dream job. So that really excites me. But before we get into that, let's get a little bit of history on you. So you're a certified teacher. Mm-hmm. So bring us to, actually, let's go back before that. What was your first experience with 4-H?
My first experience with 4-H was joining as a fourth grader, the youngest you can join. The only reason I joined is because my dad and my grandmother were both in 4-H, and I was just kind of told that that's what you do. You join 4-H when you get to be in fourth grade, and I fell in love with it. My parents got really involved as volunteers, so my daddy ended up being my shooting sports coach and wildlife project club leader, and it just kind of grew into me being a regional and state board member, and it gave me opportunities to travel all over the country, and so it just kind of grew and grew. And then as a classroom teacher, I was actually able to be a school club leader, and so I got to see it affect not only me, but my students. So
what was the, I don't know what's the correct term, the discipline, or what was your thing in 4-H? Sound like you may have had a couple of.
Yes. I was kind of into everything except livestock, and I tried to be in livestock. My parents got me a rabbit one time, and I don't know if you know much about rabbits. They're very particular on the color and everything. So I never got to show my rabbit, but I did a little bit of everything, shooting sports, the outdoor stuff because of my dad. But I really got into the service learning and the leadership aspect of it.
Tell me about the service learning. I'm not familiar with that.
So we do a lot of service projects locally, and what kind of puts us above or, differs us from other organizations is that we don't just do the can drive. We do the full service learning cycle. And so we teach kids about the issue, we serve that issue, and then we reflect on it. And so it's a whole learning process. For example, right now, my junior leaders are working on poverty and food insecurity. And so they're doing a canned meat drive for the Simple Project. Next month, they're going to serve a meal. But we've also spent months learning about what poverty and food insecurity looks like in this area. And it's had a really big impact on them.
What do you feel like the kids, what age group of kids are we talking about with this particular project?
Really, it can be any age group.
But specifically for this group of kids?
Specifically, when I see the kids get really into service learning, it's in our Junior Leader Club, which is for 7th through 12th graders. Okay,
so right now that you have a group that's already together, and they're in that category from 7th to 8th grade, or 7th to 12th.
Mm-hmm.
And what are you seeing them learn through this? What is their development and growth that you're actually seeing in them going through this?
I'm seeing them not only become more thankful for what they have, but also seeing their eyes open. We hear about poverty, and we think worldwide, but really right here in Monroe and West Monroe, it's, 1 in 4 kids is facing food insecurity.
Yeah.
And so I think just having their eyes open, exposing them to different mindsets than what maybe they're used to for people who don't live the same as them. So that's been probably the most rewarding for me.
And I was really kind of happy for you to hear you talk about the Simple Project. I know this, our discussion is not about Simple Project, but our life group at church, we participate with the Simple Project at least once a quarter, and you want to get a feel of what hungry is like in your community. Simple Project will teach you a lot. It's not just homeless that show up. It's the hungry that actually show up. Sometimes you see regulars, sometimes you see new people that are there. But I think Simple Project, we have a lot of great organizations, but I'm familiar with Simple Project, and they do great for our area. And I'm happy to see that, you've got some youth that are participating and actually seeing the side of our community that they may not know. But of course, it's possible for you to have kids in that group that could be in that category. And not that we're trying to single anyone out, but I think it's important for our community to understand all aspects of it. So when we're talking about you got involved, you were in the shooting sports, and then you were kind of in the community, if we kind of well-rounded community kind of support, investing in service projects within the community. When you got out of school, what do you feel like you came away with personally in your life that 4-H helped prepare you for? Because you ended up leaving, going from high school, you ended up going into college, and you got your teaching degree. Maybe got other things. I don't know. I didn't ask, but how much of an impact did 4-H have on you to prepare you for the next step in life?
It shaped everything that I am, and I say that, and I hate how cheesy it sounds, but I see 4-H in everything that I do. I serve at my church, and it's given me kind of the organizational skills to make schedules and stuff. But even just teaching, that was not my first choice as a major. Went into rad tech, I think, and I realized real quick that I'm not a science person. And I kind of had a little quarter-life crisis trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And when I went back to the drawing board, the biggest thing I could think was I love teaching kids how to do things, because I got the chance to do that over and over in 4-H as a junior leader. And I love planning events and parties and stuff. And so that is what I do for a living now. I teach kids, and I get to plan fun events. In the classroom, I got to teach kids, and I got to do a little bit of that creative stuff with 4-H, but it really did prepare me completely for both my degree and my job.
So I've learned a lot about 4-H that I didn't know, preparing for this discussion we're going to have. And I can remember back when I was in grade school, I didn't know you had to be in fourth grade, but I'd be willing to bet I was in fourth grade when I got introduced to it. And I think I ended up with like small engine repair. I selected that and got some books on it, but did absolutely nothing with it. Which brings me to the next thing is that 4-H can't be about you and one other agent in our parish trying to make things happen. It's really going to have to take community to pull behind it. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Completely agree.
So when I'm looking at it, I never knew what the 4-H stood for. So head, heart, hands, and health. So it's like a full 360. It's it's your mind. It's how you take care of people and the things around you. It's your health. It's it's like a 360 around you. So it's not like addressing one area. It's like everything. Would you agree?
I completely agree. Actually, I'm in grad school, and so I'm looking at all this research about the organization, and there's no data saying that our kids come out smarter than any other organization, or more successful money-wise. But what is found in our data with 4-H is that they come out the happiest and the most well-rounded. And, happiness as an adult, that's a huge blessing. That's success right there, is if you grow up and you're happy.
Absolutely.
And so that really spoke to me as a past 4-H'er and now as an agent. I wish that parents could see that data and see, you're preparing your kid not only for success in a career, but also just success as a person, as a human being.
And so my term that I came up with and looking at this preparing was 100% more prepared. And prepared was the word that I come up with. Kids are better prepared for life. And when I look at my generation and the kids that we're raising, the next generation coming up, I think there at some point along the road, a disconnect happened. And I don't know where it was at, whose generation's at fault for it. But there's definitely a disconnect. And I alluded to it earlier that this discussion couldn't happen but for a more perfect time. Right now, we're in a transition in our education system to where we're having to rethink what is best for our kids, what's best for our economy, what's best for our communities. And what we're now hearing is that maybe we made some bad decisions by trying to push every single kid into college. Maybe we made a bad decision by taking out some of the workforce readiness programs we already had in school and take that out and add on another foreign language or something else. Maybe we made a mistake by not looking in our community and asking our parents, what do you want to see as far as an education system? Well, I think the discussion has definitely started to turn here recently, and the new word a lot of people hear, in which I'm not saying it's bad. It's excellent, but workforce development. We need to build a workforce here locally that represents what we need here locally, and we're not needing every single kid to go to a 4-year institute or go to a graduate school. We do need secondary education. We need to have our kids better prepared, but we kind of remove some of the stuff that made us successful in the past and kind of diminish some things. And I think 4-H might have been one of those things. Until we connected, and it was through my wife reached out and she reminded me of you the other day, and I reached back out again. Other than me driving down Cypress Street and occasionally seeing that sign, I don't think about 4-H. Where do you think what is your feel out there in the community, and what can we do to help you raise the awareness? Do you feel like you need awareness raised?
Absolutely. So we've got some awesome stuff going on, and like I told you, I'm only one person.
Sure.
And I go to the schools that have allowed me in. I would love to get into more schools. The goal is to be in every school because I think every kid deserves at least the opportunity to choose 4-H, whether it's for them or not. I think they should at least know that it's out there and what's available to them. But those soft skills you're talking about, every program that we offer is taught through the experiential learning model. So, I mean, they're getting those soft skills, that critical thinking, the teamwork, communication. That's embedded in every single project that we have. Whether it's livestock or shooting sports, or, it's one of these new programs like robotics or sea perch. They are having to work together. And I don't know about you, but I feel like that's one of the biggest skills that I use in my job,
Absolutely.
Communicating and planning and using my, critical thinking. So I think we offer a lot of things that they fit in anywhere, whether a kid's going to college or not.
Sure.
But definitely employable skills.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. When I talk to business owners, small and large business owners, they one of the big things that they talk about is obviously everybody wants a trained workforce that's trained in exactly what they're doing, but right off the bat is communication skills. I can't get an employee to make eye contact with me. I can have them text me, in shorthand. I mean, our conversation. But I can't pull out any words from them on, or do they understand or are they giving me feedback on what I'm asking them to do to know that they understand? And I had no idea that we were at such a deficiency in what you just referred to as soft skills, of that critical thinking that, I can't hold your hand and do everything for you. I need you to be able to take charge or to take ownership of what you're doing. So I think it's great, the point that you bring up, that no matter the project that they decide to get involved in, everybody is going to come out, if they apply themselves, with better communication skills, better critical thinking skills, better organizational skills out of this program. Mm-hmm. So talk to me about some of the successes. So you haven't been in Ouachita Parish for a long time, but you've had some experience in Richland Parish. So talk to me about some of the programs and some of the benefits you've seen come out of these programs.
I like, me personally, every 4-H agent is different, but I like to offer a little bit of everything. And from the outside that can look kind of chaotic because it's like, well, what is 4-H? You've got so many different areas. But the reason behind that is because every child has interests. And if you can find that one child's interest, or our hot word in 4-H is a spark. If we can find their spark, we can get them hooked, and we can, kind of walk them through the steps of learning confidence, feeling success, building the relationship between a positive adult role model and a youth, and then also their peers that are also interested. And when I think about one specific instance, I had a student that was my student as a teacher in Richland Parish. And in 4th grade, he couldn't give presentations, couldn't face his classmates or read out loud. And it was a confidence issue. He's very smart. But when I became the 4-H agent, he got really involved in photography. Ever since he got involved in photography, he has gotten really good, and he has found his confidence. And I have actually gotten him to stand up in 4-H meetings and speak. And he was interviewed at the state office, and his video was played in the Pete Maverick Center for all the 4-Hers of Louisiana. I mean, it was a big deal. So just seeing that transition, and I could go on and on about the specific instances like that, but seeing his growth from the time I was his teacher to the time I got to experience him as a 4-Her, it was just phenomenal. And so that's what 4-H does in every area, whether it is the shooting sports or the livestock or the STEM or photography. It provides that.
So I started going through some of the programs that 4-H offers. And I mean, some of this just kind of blew me away. If you had to, blew me away on the sense of that, how some of it is so simple and basic. Like I think there's a babysit program. Mm-hmm. And then we've got to where we're doing robotics. I mean, it's everything in between. I know you probably don't know the exact number, but let's just ballpark it. How many different programs does a school or a club have to choose from? How many programs are out there?
Oh gosh, I don't know. When they go to pick their project book, I have parents calling me saying, "What do I even start with?" Because there are just so many options. I'd say over 100 options. The hardest thing to grasp, though, as a new member or a new family in 4-H is that you may not have a workshop during the year. We do have a babysitting workshop. Miss Tara does. She's done before I got here. But, fishing. You may go all year without having a fishing program, but what you do is you get your book and you can do your own work at home, and we provide the education in those books, and that's something that can be extended at home.
So what is the process of, so we know we have over 100 programs, and we know we can't be all things to all people all the time. How do you guys choose which programs you're going to offer the live training or the investment at a higher level? How do y'all choose what happens?
We actually have an advisory committee that is selected kind of not really at random. We'll have stakeholders invited. We'll have community partners, some parents, some kids. And this is part of our local support that comes in. They actually vote on what should be our priority. So we don't just decide, hey, I really like robots. Actually,
but you got stakeholders in the community that have a say in
what our programs are.
Now, I would have to assume the programs they recommend is going to be based on possibly community need.
Yes.
And then overall interest level. I mean, if you had a program that was about, raising ostriches, that may not be something that's going to really speak to the people. Yeah. I'm just being a little facetious with that. But so it's good to know we got stakeholders out there. But if we had a group, let's just hypothetically say that we have a large, maybe a co-op homeschool group that had a lot of members, and they reached out to you guys and says, hey, look, we really would like to have this that's out there. And if it's not within your curriculum, they said, we can wait till maybe next year we can work on getting something together. Are y'all in a position to where y'all can address something like that?
Absolutely.
Okay, so really it's, from what I'm hearing, it is based on the community's need. You're here to be able to support that. Mm-hmm. So what does that support look like versus when I was in 4th grade and I'd signed up for a small engine repair, I know I got a book, and I don't know if we have ever met again or not, but obviously nobody was working on small engines at my elementary school at that
Yeah.
point. So you have that level where kids can still select what they're interested in, and they can do some self-studying. But what does that next level look like if you have the workshops?
So we try to either hold project clubs, which is where we lead the program, or we may have somebody in charge. For example, the photography club here is actually led by Mayor Stacy Mitchell, and she does a monthly program, and she is the expert there. Miss Tara is almost like the liaison or the
Right.
facilitator. But what you're describing, if a group has a need, we call that enrichment. And so, for example, Carroll High School's one of their special ed classes is doing life skills with me. And so the other
Okay.
day we baked cookies, and that was based on what they wanted for their students. And I'm doing my best to make that happen. We don't have a specific curriculum, or we might, but I don't have it for what they're wanting. So I'm just kind of pulling resources together, and I'm presenting that. And that's totally doable.
What have been some of the challenges? Let me back up a little bit. I can imagine that you're going to have some challenges in some schools just due to the regulations that they put on our school system that the kids got to, I mean, I call it, and I know you educators out there may get mad at me for this, and I apologize. I like to use simple terms, but teach to the test. I mean, we're sitting here. We know we got this standardized test that's coming. We know we only got so many days. We got to make it happen, and that we got to focus. We got to focus on this. And I can see how some schools can feel that we've got no more attention or no bandwidth to add anything else in for us to talk about. Would you say that's been you feel like maybe some of the pushback when it comes to being in every single school or getting buy-in from some schools? They're just overtaxed.
They're overtaxed. The teachers are overtaxed, and I get it. Coming from the classroom, they've got so many things on their plate, and this is just one more thing. And so I really appreciate all the people who have been so welcoming to me, and they have. I've gone from 5 middle and high school clubs to 16 clubs,
Wow.
and so we're making progress, and I appreciate that.
So, but what's that alternatives? And again, I don't want any educator to get mad at me saying that. I think our educators have some of the toughest jobs. I think they are underpaid and undersupported in what they do. But us knowing that, and we still know that there's value with this program, what would you like the educators and the administrators to know about the programs that you offer that could help them? Because obviously, if we have students that understand, back up a little bit, we know that anyone, when they find passion or the spark that you mentioned, when they find that, they're going to put more into it. They're going to want to stay more engaged, which to be more engaged, you're going to have to follow the program. Follow the program means you're going to follow rules and, be courteous to other people. What would you want those educators to know, administrators to know of some of the benefits that they could receive if they just said yes or opened that door to see what could happen?
I would say, echo what I said earlier about the data. They're going to be the reason that those kids grow up and become happier, more successful adults as humans and not just as employable people. But, they're going to grow up and they're going to remember their school club leader because that's the one person who, put even more extra time just so that they could have those experiences. I do try to make it as simple on those leaders as possible because of my experience as a classroom teacher. And so just making sure that potential club leaders would know, that this is a partnership, and I try to make it worth their while and as simple as possible because I know all the hats they wear. It's tough out there right now.
Now, so I'm assuming you're referencing the club leaders as being either educators or administrators within the actual school.
Yes.
This podcast is possible because of your support of our real estate business. If you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, I'm confident we have the tools and the processes to help you reach your real estate goal. For more information or to reach out to us, check out the podcast description for our contact info. But all the work doesn't have to fall on them, right?
No.
We need parents, we need guardians, we need community volunteers to get involved to help get this off the ground, right?
Yes.
So obviously, if we're going to be in the school, we have to have someone from the school to be able to kind of say that they're going to guide or lead this. But it doesn't have to consume them, right?
No.
They can delegate as much of it as they want to other volunteers. So how do you get what's a how does that conversation start with a parent that says, you know what, I would like to see more. But I know that my teachers, I know the educators, they got so much on their plate right now. But I want more for my kids in this area. How's that how do you recommend that conversation start with the parent or that community leader trying to get something like this started in one of the local schools that it's not in right now?
I would just make sure that they know that, if they put that out there to the administrators, that hopefully their word would mean more than my word, being
Is that something that you would come alongside of them with and
Absolutely,
just say, hey, look, let's just tell me what you're looking for and let's go and start having the conversations. Do you think that the administration would be more willing to accept if they knew they had the support from parents and community leaders that are going to actually help do the heavy lifting for them?
I do.
You think that's
a great
part
idea.
of some of the problem that we've had in the past? Mm-hmm. Let's talk about some of the success stories. So you mentioned something about Carol teaching for them some life skills. Talk about some of the other programs that we see throughout the parish.
So I just started a robotics program that was funded by DRAX back in the summer. We were able to buy a classroom kit of robotics kits, and we are presenting that 4 times a month at the East Washita Rec Centers, at those 3 locations, and then once at my office in West Monroe. And so just in this short amount of time we've been doing it, we've had 1 month of lessons. The kids built their robot. They made it go in a square. Some kids even made theirs do an obstacle course. So I'm seeing them build the robot, code the robot, and the amount of teamwork that has gone into it. Even when they're working individually, they're still helping each other. And it has blown me away just how much interest I've seen in STEM programming and how many parents have said, thank you so much. This is not something that's available here.
How many kids would you say are in that program currently?
Last month we had 36 across the 4
36
locations.
And it's not based out of one school. This is going to be something for the parish. You're having a community center.
Yes.
How did you get these kids involved? How did these kids find out about it to be able to get involved?
The only marketing I have done has been Facebook, and it's in our monthly 4-H newsletter this month, but the kids don't have to be in 4-H to do the robotics program. The East Washita Rec Centers shared it on their Facebook, and I think that is what got the most attention because we're reaching all of their audience, and then our 4-H page is also reaching our audience.
Can we say, so give me some of the demographics of what we're looking at. We're looking at affluent. We're looking for middle-class families. We're looking at families that may not be in the middle class. We got very diverse background, or is it very kind of driven into one?
I honestly don't know. I am taking a very hands-off approach with data just this year with this robotics, with it being the first time. My goal is to do this at East Washita's rec centers and then hopefully incorporate it in Monroe City, hopefully West Monroe. As far as the demographic, I don't know because all I have on them is, waivers. And I wanted it that way this year.
The reason I ask the question is that I'm not as concerned about the actual demographics as I am saying, these are our kids, this Ouachita Parish kids. It's not that it's East Ouachita Middle School. It's not Neville High School. It's Ouachita Parish kids that are getting enriched with something they've never had an opportunity to do before because it wasn't available. And they don't even have to be members. Now, we talk about being members. How expensive is it to be a member in 4-H?
It costs $7 for the year, and that includes an insurance policy on each member.
Yeah, $7 a year. And I'm sure if you had a kid that could not afford the $7, I'm sure there's probably grants out there or companies that would be willing to pay the $7 for the kid, right?
Yes, I've had several, actually, police jury members who have asked any way they can help with membership fees that they're willing to. So I'm very grateful for that support.
So, what kind of goals are you guys goal oriented of trying to for growth for 4-H, or what kind of approach are you guys taking with it? I know that there's only 2 of y'all that are doing this. Has there always been 2 here in Ouachita Parish, or is this?
There's been as many as 4 in the past, but for the last I think like 8 years, there's only been 1.
Oh wow!
And so with me joining in July. Our regional director, Dr. Cater, has told me that she wants me to take an organic approach to it, not stress myself about numbers, but just get acquainted and kind of get my feet wet. And then I'm sure she'll have goals for me in the future. Most parishes, the goal is 30% of the youth would be involved.
But that would be amazing if we had. I think
that's a lot.
I don't know that in recent times that's ever been achievable. I was looking back that 4-H started in Louisiana in I've got it here somewhere. It's like 1908. I think it was first put together out of a superintendent in Ohio in 1902. Congress started funding it in 1914, but in Louisiana since 1908 we've had a 4-H present to where it was recognized as being something of very big value for it. And some of the stuff you sent over to me that 4-H has Bessie backing. Bessie has said that 4-H is good for our community and can be used. And I don't know all the terms. There was some stuff in there talking about
interest and opportunity.
There you
points.
go. That.
Yes,
So tell me a little bit about that.
So schools get a school performance score, and then they also get, it's like a questionnaire that they have to answer. I think at the parish office there may be someone there who does that for the schools. I'm not sure, but basically it's almost like bonus points. Here's your school score, and then if you have these interests and opportunities provided for your kids, you get extra. And it may not change their letter grade, but it may bump them up, 1 or 2 points.
Sure.
And not only does 4-H count as interest and opportunity points, but let's say if a school wanted a robotics program and they don't have the funding, and they were to check out our robotics kit once a month and provide robotics, that's another check off of their list. So those are more points.
So if there is a STEM class that's already in the parish school system and they don't have funding for robotics, all they got to do is reach out to you guys and y'all can help them have a robotics aspect of the classroom STEM.
Yes.
And how much does that cost at school?
Nothing. Drax has fully funded that kit.
Wow. And let me tell you, Drax loves our community, and Drax is I wish I knew more about the company. I know they make wood pellets, and I think most of that stuff goes overseas. I'm not 100% sure, but I can tell you they love our community. They invest in our community. And to know that they are making this available for our community, every school system is always fighting for funding and for money. And if our school systems already have a STEM program, they don't have robotics, they need something, you guys can – why would they not be calling you up saying, hey – come on, how many classrooms you want up here?
Right. And there are lots of other things that I'm able to come in and do as enrichment myself, and I'm thinking as a past teacher, if somebody wanted to come in my classroom and teach my kids something and give me a second to, grade a paper or breathe, I'd be all over it. And so I try to provide as many of those opportunities as possible. But even if the schools wanted the resources and not me as an educator, that's available too.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. So, what would you want the parents to know? We talked about before that we can't expect two agents within Ouachita Parish to accomplish all of this. I know you've got an advisory board that's helping you guys choose the curriculum that y'all are going to move forward with. But how important is it to have just general volunteers that say, you know what, I believe in our community and I want to be able to help. I may not be able to teach something, but surely there's something I can do. Are there opportunities for people to get plugged in, even if they don't have a kid that's involved in 4-H?
Absolutely.
What are some things that a volunteer can do to help push this program forward or make it more successful or invest in our youth locally?
Even behind the scenes work, I know Mr. Mark Snellgrove has been helping with the robotics, and he's been teaching me, and he has, gotten the kits to the locations and everything. Just something as simple as helping me set up a classroom makes a huge difference because I'm pulled in so many different directions. But also just spreading the word, letting kids know that, if you know a kid, if you have a family friend or family member, who is of the age, 9 to 19, letting them know of all the opportunities available and letting them know that, this could lead to state and national travel, state and national awards, things that'll help with scholarships and
Let's talk about scholarships. How would you see that could help a kid, from being involved in understanding mastery in whatever discipline that they choose? What do you see, or what have you seen in the past as far as helping to benefit a kid with furthering their education?
We do provide several scholarships as a state organization, and there may be a few small local, like Scott Tractor and Trailer always provides a $500 scholarship per parish in the whole Northeast region, I believe. But we also give all of our members things to fill up their scholarship applications with, even if it's not our scholarship. Just being able to say that they taught a class or they have been trained in this, all that kind of goes a long way, especially with the service learning hours and that extra certification. I don't know how many hours the kids have to have, but there's a new certification they can get if they get X amount of service learning hours. And so a lot of other organizations are kind of sending their kids to us to say, hey, can you get them involved in y'all's service learning?
I think it's also important to communicate, even though that we're still in Northeast Louisiana, we're still heavy in ag. Ag business in our area is a major driver within our economy, and we're so thankful for that. And I don't want to do anything to take away from our ag side because I don't ever want it to dissipate. It's great, but I also want kids and parents to understand that 4-H is not about raising cows and the farm stuff like a lot of people or growing things. I mean, yes, that's a component of it, but I mean, there's STEM. There's talk to me, explain a little bit about this, the underwater robotics, the program that you are associated with. I started reading on it and I'm just like, that's available here? How cool is that?
So Sea Perch is an underwater ROV, which is a remote operated vehicle, and they'll tell you real fast it's not a robot. It's an ROV. But I was trained in that recently, and we now have a regional competition in Sea Perch, and then we have a state 4-H competition in Sea Perch. So maybe if there's a team, that doesn't place in the region, but they happen to be 4-H members, they can compete in our contests and also go to the state level.
Does that have any national
Yes, it goes nationally.
opportunities?
I think maybe internationally.
Wow.
And
I
so
mean, the
it's a big
program,
deal.
yeah, but the program looks so fascinating, and you start doing a bit of reading on it and talking about how unexplored our ocean floor really is in comparison to the exploration that we've done on land. I mean, it's still a new frontier out there for it. And I'm having to assume that's why they are trying to invest kids into it early, is so that they'll maybe have a passion to really discover and figure out what lies beneath.
And you talked about ag a little bit. We've got a brand new state grant for drones, and that's kind of the future of ag. And
Yeah.
so we're working towards that. And there are lots of ways to tie in the robotics with the new ag, whatever it's called, precision ag.
Well, I think we're going to really see drones be the catalyst for a lot of different changes that we're going to have in how our economy flows. But in my short time on this earth, I've seen drones go from something that's very clunky that is so expensive to get involved in, to where it's so affordable. If you can spend as much money as you want to on them, but the things that they're doing, the spraying of our fields, of actually delivering things, to the LiDAR surveying that's taking place with our drones, that's pretty impressive. What would you like to see if you could kind of wave your magic wand and make that next step in our area with the 4-H? What would that next step look like to you?
I think I would like that next step to look like a lot less like recruitment and having to explain what 4-H is, and seeing more kids dive deeper into their projects. So, just having families get interested and just trying it out to see if it's for them. Really spreading the word is the biggest thing. I'd like to see more community partners helping us spread the word, whether that's just sharing stuff on social media or spreading the word in their own little circles.
So just bringing that awareness back up overall, that hey, we're here, we have value that we can bring to the community. We just need you to give us a shot. To the educators that we have out there in the school administration that you're currently not in, what would you want them to know?
I'd want them to know that that I appreciate their willingness to allow us in, and it's really just that. It's opening the door and allowing us in.
Start a conversation.
Yes. See, if you've got teachers with too much on their plate, how can I, figure out a way to bridge that gap, pulling in adults or parents, like you said, and just making it work for their situation. If their kids don't think they'd be interested in what I'm doing for the parish, that's fine. We can work, one-on-one with something specific just for them.
So you can have community groups that doesn't have to be in the school system. So if you've got a group that says, hey, look, you're offering this thing, and we've got 10 kids that want to be involved in that thing, and we're going to meet at this place every week to do this thing, is that an option?
Absolutely.
But schools are where we really need to kind of target the kids and masses.
I think it's a two-way street. I think the schools are the traditional side, and so that's the main part of my job. That's where my expectations lie. But then those extra programs, that's where you see kids get really in-depth. And so I kind of need both.
Right.
And they both have their benefits, I guess, for the kids involved.
Well, my words of encouragement to you is going to be this. The timing is now. The focus on restructuring our workforce so that we're offering the education, we're exposing the variety of things that we offer. Kids just don't know what they don't know until they know. I mean, even as adults, we get to be an adult and we're like, maybe this magical light switch is going to go on and we just have all the answers to, hey, well, this is going to be my job path. I feel good about it. We're going to move forward. It took you a while to kind of figure things out. And, to hear you say, I'm now in my dream job. I mean, what if every kid could come out of, primary education and say, this is what I want? Well, I think we have a better opportunity if we're able to expose our kids to more opportunities. And let me hit on one other thing that just kind of popped in my mind. Through your experience as participating and now leading, how many times do you see a child get involved in something and it not be the thing that sparks them, but it opened their eyes to maybe something else that their friends involved in, and that is their thing at that point?
I've seen that happen over and over again. Specifically with me, wildlife and shooting sports, that was not my thing. But I didn't quit just because that wasn't my thing. I just kind of found myself over time. And so my advice would just be to give it a chance. And if you don't like it, then,
No sense in sticking with it. If you don't like it, let's try something else.
Yeah.
Again, in life, it's tough. You just don't know what you know until you know. And you're never going to know unless you get out and start experience things.
Yep.
And the depth of what you guys offer and make available, there's got to be something for everybody. I even saw esports is now a thing in there. And never in my lifetime will I ever think that esports is going to be a thing. But, I mean, it really is a thing. My generation is kind of when Atari came out and then Nintendo and the gaming kind of started. But if we think about esports as being somebody hitting it big in sports, I think we're thinking about it wrong. The esports is building community. It's building that knowledge base of how things work. There's a lot more to learn than just playing video games when you're involved in esports.
Yeah. I took a team of boys from Richland last year to LSU to compete at the state level, and I was just amazed. They let me slide in the back of the room and watch them, and I just thought, these little gamers are going to be sitting back here.
And the strategy that they have to come up with,
the teamwork,
the teamwork, the planning, the execution of it, doing what you say you're going to do. I mean, it takes all of those life skills and throws it in there to something that's very fast paced, which, I mean, in life, we're thrown into things that are fast paced, and we have to, at some points, make critical decisions, and that critical thinking has to come into play. And I mean, whether we like it or not, esports is something that's here, and it does offer value. And I'm really pleased to know that 4-H is not just what some people think is traditional. I'm going to learn how to grow a tomato plant. We're trying to meet the people, the kids, the youth where they're at, and develop them in a way that's going to give them better opportunities as they move into secondary education.
Yes.
So again, I really appreciate you taking the time to come in here and just share your heart and what 4-H can actually do. It's definitely opened my mind. Again, the timing couldn't be more perfect of us looking at trying as a local community and hopefully as a country. I wish we could kind of all get on the same page and yes, we're going to change our education system so we're not penalizing schools in a point system because they're not sending everybody to college, that we're going to do what's best for our community. We can't change that overnight, but what we can do is we can expose our kids to better opportunities. And better opportunity starts with programs like this, where the entry fee is $7. And if they can't afford the $7, all they do is let you know, and there's others that will step up and cover the $7 for them because we want our kids to be better prepared. And I think it's programs like this that are going to be that next thing that helps get us up. And I don't know what got us to the point where we took 4-H out of schools, but I'm happy to know that we're investing more in and that we're hopefully with this small podcast that we can educate some people and start exposing our youth to more things. And not only our youth, giving our community an opportunity to be able to serve alongside of professionals like yourself and our youth to make our community better. We cannot rely on the government, our school system, or corporate partners to do everything for us. If we want change, we have to be the change.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, no, thank you for all you do. And if there's anything that, any programs, new programs, things that you guys are pushing, I want you to let us know. We'd like to come alongside you guys and help promote all that we can. I think what y'all are doing is fantastic for our community, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to watch or listen to this podcast. We really appreciate your involvement. Please leave us a comment, or even better yet, subscribe to this podcast and hit that notification bell so that you can be alerted for every new episode when it hits.